It began with a whisper, then a gunshot, and finally, a roar that would engulf an entire nation. Liberia, a land once seen as a symbol of freedom for freed slaves, descended into a nightmare of blood, betrayal, and brutal power struggles. This is the story of the First Liberian Civil War, a war that would shatter a nation and shock the world. Liberia was founded in 1822 by freed African American slaves under the American Colonization Society. In 1847, it became Africa's first independent republic. The ruling elite, known as the Americo-Liberians, dominated politics, economy, and military power for over a century, sidelining the indigenous African ethnic groups who made up the majority. The Americo-Liberians held power through the True Whig Party, which ruled for 133 years, creating a deep social and political divide. Liberia was independent, but not equal. A small elite controlled everything. Tension brewed quietly, like a volcano waiting to erupt. In 1980, Master Sergeant Samuel Doe, an indigenous Kron from the army, staged a coup, assassinating President William Tolbert. Doe promised change and equality, but instead, his regime became increasingly corrupt, authoritarian, and tribalistic. He favored his Kron ethnic group, alienating other tribes, especially the Geo and Mano of Nimba County. By the mid-1980s, Liberia was boiling with discontent, economic collapse, and brutal repression. Doe had risen as a hero, but he would rule like a tyrant. And in his tyranny, seeds of rebellion were sown. Christmas Eve, 1989, Charles Taylor, a former Doe official turned rebel leader, crossed into Liberia from Côte d'Ivoire with about 100 fighters, calling themselves the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, NPFL. Taylor, educated in the U.S., ambitious and charismatic, promised liberation from Doe's dictatorship. His forces quickly gained support, especially among the Geo and Mano, who had suffered under Doe. On that silent night, rebels crossed the border, and Liberia's long nightmare began. NPFL swept through Nimba County, brutally attacking Kron civilians loyal to Doe. Doe's army retaliated with scorched earth tactics, massacring entire villages suspected of aiding rebels. Ethnic violence spiraled out of control, Kron versus Geo and Mano, then everyone versus everyone. By 1990, the war reached Monrovia, the capital. Monrovia, once a bustling city of hope, became a city of fear. Streets ran red with blood. Neighbors turned against neighbors. Liberia was eating itself alive. In August 1990, Doe was captured by another rebel faction, the INPFL, led by Prince Yomi Johnson, a former Taylor ally turned rival. In a chilling act that shocked the world, Johnson tortured Doe on video while drinking beer, his ears cut off, his body mutilated, until death. Doe's execution created a power vacuum. But instead of peace, it unleashed even more chaos. Multiple factions emerged. Taylor's NPFL, Prince Johnson's NPFL, and the remnants Doe's army, AFL. The president was dead, but Liberia's agony was far from over. By mid-1990, ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, sent a peacekeeping force, ECOMOG, to stop the bloodshed. Nigeria led the mission, but Taylor saw them as enemies, accusing them of protecting Doe loyalists. Instead of peace, Liberia became a proxy battlefield. Nigeria versus Taylor. Rebel factions versus each other. Civilians trapped in the middle. Liberia became a chessboard of power, and its people, pawns in a deadly game. The war lasted 7 years, 1989 to 1997. 200,000 people killed. 1 million displaced. Warlords used child soldiers, rape as a weapon, and horrific massacres. Entire towns vanished. Hunger, disease, and despair ruled the land. Liberia was bleeding. Children turned into killers. Families torn apart. The world saw, but did little. After 13 failed peace accords, a breakthrough came in 1996. In 1997, elections were held. Charles Taylor won with 75% of the vote. His campaign slogan: "He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I will vote for him." Why? Because people believed if Taylor became president, the war would finally end. Taylor took power in August 1997. But peace was fragile, and Taylor's rule would soon lead to the Second Liberian Civil War, 1999 to 2003. The war was over, or so they thought. Liberia's story of blood was not yet finished. The First Liberian Civil War was not just a fight for power, it was a fight for survival. A war where ethnicity, greed, and vengeance consumed a nation. Liberia still bears the scars. And the ghosts of 1989 still whisper in the winds.